66 million years ago, when giant dinosaurs still ruled the land, the ocean had a king of its own. Beneath the deep blue waters, where sunlight had faded into trembling streaks of light, a massive shadow was moving silently. It was not a shark, not a whale, and not a dinosaur. It was Mosasaurus, a gigantic marine reptile with teeth as sharp as knives and a body built for hunting. With just one strike from the dark waters, it could turn a large fish, a sea turtle, or even another predator into a meal. In that world, the ocean was far from peaceful. It was a battlefield, where only the strongest, fastest, and most terrifying creatures could survive. And at the top of that food chain, Mosasaurus swam through the seas like a living nightmare. But this monster was not terrifying because of its size alone. The story of Mosasaurus is also a story of power, evolution, battle, and the extinction of an ancient king of the sea. First of all, one thing needs to be made clear: Mosasaurus was not a dinosaur. It was an ancient marine reptile, belonging to the Mosasaur group, distant relatives of modern lizards and snakes. The name Mosasaurus means Meuse River lizard, because the first famous fossils were found near the Meuse River region in Europe. This creature lived during the late Cretaceous period, around 82 to 66 million years ago. That was also the time just before the Great Extinction event wiped the dinosaurs from the Earth. But while Tyrannosaurus rex spread fear on land, Mosasaurus was one of the most terrifying predators in the ocean. Its body was designed almost entirely for life underwater. Its four limbs had transformed into paddles, helping it navigate through deep waters. Its long, powerful tail generated thrust, allowing its massive body to surge forward like a living shadow. And its head, with strong jaws and rows of sharp teeth, was the weapon that finished off its prey. Mosasaurus fossils have been found in many places around the world, from Europe, North America, South America, Africa, and West Asia, all the way to Antarctica. This shows that it was not just a local predator, but a true icon of the oceans during the late Cretaceous period. If the great white shark is the nightmare of today's seas, then 66 million years ago, the name that made the ocean fall silent may have been Mosasaurus. The story of Mosasaurus did not begin at the bottom of the ocean, but in a chalk quarry in Europe. In the 18th century, near the city of Maastricht in the Netherlands, quarry workers discovered a giant skull buried within ancient rock. At first, no one truly knew what this creature was. Some believed it was a whale. Others thought it resembled a giant crocodile. But that skull was too strange, too large, and too different from any familiar animal. It quickly became known by the famous name, the Great Animal of Maastricht. Later, the naturalist Georges Cuvier studied this fossil and reached a shocking conclusion. He argued that it was not a whale, nor a crocodile, but a gigantic marine reptile that had vanished from the earth. Today, that may sound ordinary. But at the time, the idea that a species could go extinct was still very new and controversial. Mosasaurus, therefore, was not only an ancient sea monster. It was also a fossil that helped humanity understand that Earth had once been home to giant creatures, creatures that ruled the planet and then disappeared forever. And from that mysterious skull, the doorway into the world of prehistoric oceans began to open. When talking about Mosasaurus, the first thing that overwhelms many people is its size. The most famous and also the largest species often mentioned is Mosasaurus hoffmanii. According to many current estimates, it could reach a length of around 12 to 13 meters. In other words, its body could be about as long as a large bus. But the story does not end there. Some fragmentary fossil specimens have led scientists to suggest even larger estimates, possibly exceeding 17 meters. However, these enormous numbers remain debated, because a complete skeleton of Mosasaurus hoffmanii has never been fully found. What is certain is that, no matter how it is calculated, Mosasaurus was still one of the largest marine reptiles ever to exist. Imagine diving in an ancient sea, and in front of you is a head almost as long as an adult human body. Behind that head is a massive body, a powerful tail, and 4 paddles silently steering this entire hunting machine through the water. Underwater, size does not only create fear. It also brings strength, reach, and the ability to overpower prey through presence alone. With Mosasaurus, every time it emerged from the dark waters, the entire ocean seemed to shrink. To understand why Mosasaurus could become one of the most terrifying predators in the ocean, look at its body. This was not a clumsy lizard thrown into the sea. Mosasaurus was the result of millions of years of evolution, as a reptile's body gradually transformed into an underwater hunting machine. Its body was long and streamlined, helping reduce drag as it swam through the vast ocean. Its 4 limbs were no longer used for walking on land, but had evolved into powerful paddles. These paddles helped Mosasaurus maintain balance, change direction, and control its body as it approached its prey. But its true engine was at the rear. Its long, strong tail, with an end shaped like a large fin, generated the thrust that drove its massive body forward. Each sweep of the tail could turn Mosasaurus from a silent shadow into a sudden attack. And once it had closed the distance, its most terrifying weapon began to appear. It was the large head, the powerful jaws, and the sharp teeth designed to tear prey apart. Mosasaurus did not need to chew like a mammal. It bit, held on tightly, ripped flesh apart, and swallowed its victim piece by piece. Even creatures with hard protective shells, such as sea turtles, could become its target. Mosasaurus did not only have strength, it also had well-developed eyes. In the dim waters of the ancient sea, good vision helped it detect movement, choose the right moment to attack, and strike from the darkness. A streamlined body. A tail like an engine. 4 paddles for steering. A jaw built to finish the kill. All of this turned Mosasaurus into something the oceans of the late Cretaceous had to fear. It was not just a large creature, it was a predator designed to dominate. Mosasaurus was not a picky predator. In the ocean of the late Cretaceous period, almost any creature that swam through its territory could become a target. The diet of Mosasaurus may have included large bony fish, sharks, ancient squid, seabirds, sea turtles, and even other marine reptiles. With its powerful jaws and sharp teeth designed for tearing flesh, it could handle prey much larger than what many ordinary predators could take down. Some fossil evidence shows that Mosasaurus ate large fish, and may have attacked sea turtles as well. This made it an extremely versatile predator. It did not rely on only one type of food. It took advantage of the vast marine ecosystem around it. If the prey was soft-bodied, it could bite and swallow it piece by piece. If the prey had a hard protective shell, Mosasaurus could still use the force of its jaws to cause serious damage. And if the opponent was another marine reptile, the encounter could turn into a battle for survival. In that world, Mosasaurus was not merely searching for food. It was the reason many other creatures had to stay alert. Mosasaurus may not have always hunted by chasing prey over long distances. Most likely, it often used darkness, depth, and surprise to approach its prey. In the ancient waters, a massive shadow could drift silently beneath a school of fish without drawing attention. Then, within just a few seconds, its powerful tail would begin to sweep rapidly. Its gigantic body would surge upward like a living arrow from the dark water. By the time the prey realized the danger, the distance had almost disappeared. The jaws opened wide, sharp teeth locked onto the target, and the hunt entered its decisive moment. Mosasaurus did not need to kill its prey instantly with one perfect bite. It could hold on tightly, tear flesh apart, and then swallow pieces of its victim with the terrifying strength of its jaws and neck. However, Mosasaurus was probably not just a simple ambush predator. With its powerful tail and a body well adapted to the sea, it could also chase prey in short bursts of attack. The danger of Mosasaurus lay in this: it could be as silent as darkness, yet explode like an underwater storm. In the ocean of the late Cretaceous period, just one careless moment from its prey was enough to become its meal. Although Mosasaurus was an apex predator, it did not live in an empty ocean. Around it were many other gigantic marine reptiles, just as powerful and dangerous. Names such as Tylosaurus and Prognathodon may have been direct competitors within the same ecosystem. They hunted similar prey, shared the same waters, and at times may have encountered each other in tense confrontations. However, large predators do not necessarily have to destroy one another in order to coexist. They can divide food sources, hunting grounds, or choose different types of prey. But that does not mean the ocean of Mosasaurus was peaceful. Some fossils show that individual Mosasaurus suffered serious injuries, even with teeth from their own kind embedded in the jawbone. This suggests that they may have fought members of their own species. These clashes may have happened over territory, food, competition, or mating behavior. For a creature with sharp teeth and a massive body like Mosasaurus, every battle could leave serious consequences. So even the king of the sea was not completely safe. In the world of the late Cretaceous period, the ruler of today could still become the challenged one tomorrow. Mosasaurus was a creature of the ocean, and it likely spent almost its entire life underwater. Because of this, scientists believe it would have been unlikely to crawl onto land to lay eggs like sea turtles do today. Although there is no direct evidence of a pregnant Mosasaurus, many other mosasaur relatives show signs of giving birth directly in the water. This makes the idea that Mosasaurus gave birth in the open ocean very plausible. Imagine a newborn Mosasaurus entering the world in the dim blue waters of the ancient sea. It had no nest on the sand, no safe land to hide on. From its very first moments, it had to learn how to swim, breathe, and stay away from larger predators. Shallow seas may have been places where young Mosasaurus could find protection during the early stages of life. There, they could partly avoid the giant monsters patrolling farther offshore. But absolute safety did not exist in the ocean of the late Cretaceous period. A newborn Mosasaurus belonged to the sea from the moment it was born. And if it survived long enough, it could grow into the very nightmare that other creatures had to fear. No matter how powerful it was, Mosasaurus could not ultimately escape the fate of its time. Around 66 million years ago, Earth entered one of the greatest turning points in the history of life. The KPG extinction event wiped out the dinosaurs, along with countless creatures on land and in the sea. For Mosasaurus, that disaster was not just a moment of impact from the sky. It was the collapse of an entire ecosystem. As sunlight was blocked, phytoplankton and marine food chains began to suffer severe consequences. As smaller organisms declined, fish, sea turtles, marine reptiles, and other prey were also pushed into crisis. An apex predator like Mosasaurus depended on the abundance of the entire ocean beneath it. When that foundation began to shake, the king of the sea had nowhere left to stand. It could win its hunts, it could survive battles with rivals. But it could not fight against a planet changing too quickly. Sea levels fluctuated, habitats shrank, and food sources slowly ran out. The oceans that had once belonged to Mosasaurus became more unfamiliar with each passing day. And then, like so many other giant creatures of the Cretaceous period, Mosasaurus disappeared from the living world. Only its teeth, fragments of bone, and fossils remained, lying silent within the rock. But those traces are what tell the story of a lost age. An age when the seas once belonged to giant marine lizards. And among them, Mosasaurus was one of the most terrifying names ever to swim through the ancient ocean. Today, Mosasaurus no longer swims in any ocean on Earth. The seas that were once its kingdom have changed forever. No more sudden strikes from the darkness. No more gigantic jaws that made entire ecosystems stay cautious. All that remains are fossils, sharp teeth, and silent fragments of bone locked within the rock. But from those very traces, we can look back into a lost world. A world where the seas did not belong to whales, sharks, or humans. They once belonged to gigantic marine reptiles. And among them, Mosasaurus was one of the most terrifying names. It was a predator, a symbol of power, and a reminder that no king rules forever. If you want to explore more prehistoric monsters, leave the name you want to see in the comments. And who knows, in the next episode, we may meet a creature even more terrifying than Mosasaurus.